Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Tirye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. So today we'll discuss Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, text 17 through 24. So in the previous verse, 16th verse, Krishna talked about one who does not follow in human life the cycle of sacrifice, thus established by the Vedas, certainly leads a life full of sin. Living only for the satisfaction of the senses, such a person lives in vain. Means he kept on saying, you have to do your karma, but you do the karma should be a yajna for the satisfaction of the Supreme. Whatever karma we do, it should be actually a yajna. Now by doing yajna, a person will come to the level of self-satisfaction, self-realization. So now this theme starts from now, text 17. Yastvatmaratireva syādatmatriptascha manavaha atmaniyevcha santushtas tasya karyam na vidyate. But for one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, and who is satisfied in the self only, fully satiated, for him there is no duty. Although we are pretty much in the beginning stages of our spiritual life, and many times we get into this mode of, oh, I'm not going to do this duty. I don't like to do this duty. I don't want to work. I don't want to take care of my family because I'm a spiritual person now. But we have to understand we are not at that level of self-realization right now, first of all. And let's see what Krishna says about this. But he does say, one who takes pleasure in the self, whose human life is one of self-realization, who is satisfied in the self only, for him there is no duty. There is no duty to perform as such in the material world. The duty as it is mentioned in Varnashram Dharma, there is no duty for him to do. But he still does a duty. Why? It is mentioned later on. A person who's fully Krishna conscious, and if you look at your Bhagavad Gita, if you have right now, Prabhupada kept fully in italics to keep stress on that, and is fully satisfied in his acts in Krishna consciousness, no longer has any duty to perform. Due to his being Krishna conscious, all impiety within is instantly cleansed, an effect of many, many thousands of yajna performances. By such clearing of consciousness, one becomes fully confident of his eternal position in relationship with the Supreme. His duty thus becomes self-eliminated by the grace of the Lord, and therefore he no longer has any obligations to the Vedic injunctions. Such a Krishna-conscious person is no longer interested in material activities and no longer takes pleasure in material arrangements like wine, women, and similar infatuations. So this is the result of being Krishna conscious, when he has no interest at all in material activities. And he has no duties to perform either, because he has already cleared by, like in the previous verses, it is said, by doing this yajna, performing your duty for the satisfaction of the Supreme, one clears up his consciousness. But one who has achieved this position of self-realization, fully Krishna consciousness, he has no duties to perform because he has no interest in material arrangements. But that's what many times we also come at the point, oh, I don't want to do my duty. I don't want to work. I don't want, especially the job part. We get completely indifferent to it. I don't want to do. I don't want to associate with those material people. I don't want to do this. I don't want to work 9 to 5. I would rather give up and sit in the temple. It's not easy sitting in the temple, first of all, and then also we haven't reached that position yet. Just imagine, after listening to the whole Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna in 4th chapter, he'll tell Arjun, I first spoke this message of Bhagavad Gita to sun god Vivaswan millions of years ago, and now I am speaking it to you. So Arjun was the very best candidate to listen to Bhagavad Gita. And by the time Krishna gave him the whole message in 48 minutes or so, Arjun was completely self-realized, fully realized soul. He was fully realized from the very beginning also. It was Krishna's Maya which took over Arjun, and because Krishna wanted to give this message. But being fully realized soul, being a devotee, pure devotee of the Lord, he still performed his duty of fighting. Krishna wanted him to fight, and he fought for the pleasure of Krishna. So he did his duty. So we cannot run away from our duties. Okay. Nev tasya kritenartho na kriten ehe kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschid artha vipashyaha. A self-realized man has no purpose to fulfill in the discharge of his prescribed duties, nor has he any reason not to perform such work. See, Krishna himself says, nor has he any reason not to perform such work, nor has he any need to depend on any other living being. A self-realized man is no longer obliged to perform any prescribed duty, save and except activities in Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is not inactivity either, as will be explained in the following verses. Krishna conscious man does not take shelter of any person, man, or demigod, because he fully surrendered to Krishna. Whatever he does in Krishna consciousness is sufficient in the discharge of his obligation. Text 19. Tasmad asakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hi acharan karma parmapnoti purushaha. Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty. For by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. But that work has been done for the pleasure of the Lord. So these things, many times people misunderstand what is Bhagavad Gita. They say one should just work. Kaam karo, baatein kam, kaam zyada, something like that they say. Or work is worship. Work is worship if it is performed for the satisfaction of yajna or Krishna. If it is a yajna, it is worship. But one who does yajna, once he attains realization, self-realization, attains a perfection, still he doesn't stop working. This is what Krishna is saying. The Supreme is the personality of Godhead for the devotees and liberation for the impersonalist. A person, therefore, acting for Krishna or in Krishna consciousness under proper guidance and without attachment to the result of the work is certainly making progress toward the supreme goal of life. Arjuna is told that he should fight in the battle of Kurukshetra for the interest of Krishna because Krishna wanted him to fight. To be a good man or a non-violent man is a personal attachment, but to act on behalf of the Supreme is to act without attachment for the result. That is a perfect action of the highest degree. So one has to act, but act on behalf of the Supreme and to act without attachment for the result. But because we are in the material world and we've been performing these duties so many lifetimes, we get attached to the results. And then Krishna gives the example of Janak Maharaj and other Raj-rishis. Karmana bhi samsiddhim astita janakadaya lok sangraham evapi sampashyan kartum arhasi. Kings such as Janak attained perfection solely by performance of prescribed duties. Therefore, just for the sake of educating the people in general, you should perform your work. So, Krishna, he gave the example of Janak Maharaj. Janak Maharaj was the father of Sita ji. And he's giving the example because he performed his prescribed duties so nicely that he attained perfection. But he still kept on doing his duties of ruling over. Kings like Janak were all self-realized souls. Consequently, they had no obligation to perform the prescribed duties in the Vedas. Nonetheless, they performed all prescribed activities just to set examples for the people in general. Janak was the father of Sita and father-in-law of Lord Sri Ram. Being a great devotee of the Lord, he was transcendently situated. But because he was a king of Mithila, he had to teach his subjects how to perform prescribed duties. So this is the right way of working. Lord Krishna and Arjun, the Lord's eternal friend, had no need to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra, but they fought to teach people in general that violence is also necessary in a situation where good arguments fail. So for a Kshatriya, violence is necessary. He cannot run away. He cannot shy away from his duty. Even though he is self-realized soul, he is a pure devotee of the Lord. Before the battle of Kurukshetra, every effort was made to avoid the war, even by the Supreme Personality of God. But the other party was determined to fight. So before the battle of Kurukshetra, Krishna himself went as a peace messenger to Duryodhana, and he asked for this kingdom of Indraprasth. Duryodhana said, no, there is any other offer. So Krishna said, okay, as far as offer is concerned, give them 5 villages. They'll be happy and they will not wage war. Duryodhana said, no, even that is too much. Krishna said, okay, just give them 5 houses, 5 palaces to live in, because they are Kshatriyas. They cannot just live in the forest. Then Duryodhana said, I will not give them even that much land where they can drive the pin into. Then the war was sure. So Krishna gave him so many options, but Duryodhana was so greedy, he didn't want to give up this land. So for such a right cause, there is a necessity for fighting. Although one who is situated in Krishna consciousness may not have any interest in the world, he still works to teach the public how to live and how to act. So this is important. He still works to teach the public how to live and how to act. So living, just like we say, do we live to eat or we eat to live? We have to see. So living properly, living and acting properly, even in the material world, for a self-realized soul, he acts in such a way that people follow his example. He sets an example that even while working in the office or dealing with other people in relationships or in other functions or in the neighborhood, one has to deal so properly that people get attracted to this process of self-realization. And they should not be able to find any faults with the self-realized souls or with the devotees. And they should be able to follow the example. And this is the main reason for people who are self-realized, they also work. Experienced persons in Krishna consciousness can act in such a way that others will follow. And this is explained in the following verse. This is what, because Arjun, he wanted to run away from the fight. If Arjun had renounced the work and gone to forest without fighting, people would have followed his example. And this would have been a wrong precedent to set. So this is what Krishna wanted to avoid. Yadyadacharti shveshtas tattate vetaro jana sahyat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate Whatever action a great man performs, common men follow. And whatever standards he sets by exemplary acts, all the world pursues. People in general always require a leader who can teach the public by practical behavior. And Prabhupada is giving an example. A leader cannot teach the public to stop smoking if he himself smokes. So there was an incident, not about smoking, but a mother once took her son to a sadhu, and she told the sadhu, please, Babaji, tell my boy not to eat chocolate, because more chocolate he eats, his teeth will go bad and he will suffer. So the sadhu told the mother, come like 3 days later. She was surprised. So why he needs 3 days to tell such a simple thing? So after 3 days, she went. And then the sadhu Baba told the boy, you better stop eating chocolate because your teeth will fall off. They'll ruin and fall off and you'll have problems. So mother asked him, why didn't you tell the same thing 3 days ago? Then the sadhu said, actually, I was addicted to eating chocolates that time. So I gave up chocolates for 3 days, and now I will also give up, and then I can tell him. So one has to adopt the process and then can tell others, and then it will be very effective. Lord Chaitanya said that a teacher should behave properly before he begins teaching. One who teaches in that way is called Acharya, or the ideal teacher. Acharya means one who sets an example, one who teaches by example. Therefore, a teacher must follow the principles of Shastra to teach the common man. The teacher cannot manufacture rules against the principles of revealed scriptures. The revealed scriptures like Manu Samhita and similar others are considered the standard books to be followed by human society. Thus, a leader's teachings should be based on the principles of such standard Shastras. One who desires to improve himself must follow the standard rules as they are practiced by the great teachers. So this is important. The teachers, they have to follow the scriptures and then they can teach others. Because if they themselves are not following the scriptures and expecting their disciples or pupils or students to follow, it's not going to happen. The king or the executive head of a state, the father and the school teacher are all considered to be natural leaders of the innocent people in general. All such natural leaders have a great responsibility to their dependents. Therefore, they must be conversant with the standard books of moral and spiritual codes, and they should lead the followers by setting an example. And then now Krishna talks about himself, because of course he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead and he's the greatest leader of all. So what he does, Na me parthasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana nanavaptam avaptavyam varta evacha karmani. O son of Pritha, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems. Nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything, and yet I'm engaged in prescribed duties. So here Krishna is clearly telling through Arjun that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So far only Vedvyas told Shri Bhagavan Vacha about Krishna. But here Krishna is clearly saying, there is no work prescribed for me within all the three planetary systems. Means he is not of this material world that we see. Nor am I in want of anything, nor have I a need to obtain anything. So that is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Prabhupada quotes a verse from scriptures. It is from Shvetashvatar Upanishad. 2 verses it quotes. The Supreme Lord is a controller of all other controllers, and he is the greatest of all the diverse planetary leaders. Everyone is under his control. All entities are delegated with particular power only by the Supreme Lord. They are not supreme themselves. He is also worshipable by all demigods and is the supreme director of all directors. Therefore, he is transcendental to all kinds of material leaders and controllers and is worshipable by all. There is no one greater than him, and he is the supreme cause of all causes. He does not possess a bodily form like that of an ordinary living entity. There is no difference between his body and his soul. He is absolute. All his senses are transcendental. Any one of his senses can perform the action of any other sense. Therefore, no one is greater than him or equal to him. His potencies are multifarious, and thus his deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. So this is the position of Krishna. This is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He does not need to do anything. Yes, and he is not answerable to anybody either. Everybody is following him. Everybody gets potencies from him, and they follow him and they worship him. All his senses are transcendental. Means by any sense he can perform the activity of any other sense. Just like we have limitation. By our eyes we cannot eat. But Krishna, like the deity of Krishna in the temples, when we offer him bhoga, or at home also, when we offer him bhoga, he just looks at it and he accepts it and he eats it. He does not have to eat physically. Therefore, many times people complain, or those who don't have faith, they say, you prepare so many wonderful preparations and keep the plate in front of the deity. He doesn't eat. Everything is there in the plate because they have material vision. They cannot understand. Krishna has eaten, he has accepted, and he can eat and still keep the plate full. For him, it's not difficult. But the plate that he keeps full even after eating, then it becomes prasad. It was bhoga before, and it becomes prasad later on. Prasad means his mercy. So, and then Prabhupada is quoting this verse. He is saying his potencies are multifarious. He has so many potencies, so many energies. And thus his deeds are automatically performed as a natural sequence. Means all the activities are done, his deeds are done. He doesn't have to perform himself. Just by his desire, just by his thinking, everything can be done because he has so many energies. But still, since everything is in full opulence in the personality of Godhead and is existing in full truth, there is no duty for the Supreme Personality of Godhead to perform. One who must receive the results of work has some designated duty, but one who has nothing to achieve within the three planetary systems certainly has no duty. And yet Lord Krishna is engaged on the battlefield of Kurukshetra as a leader of the Kshatriyas, because the Kshatriyas are duty bound to give protection to the distressed. Although he is above all the regulations of the revealed scriptures, he does not do anything that violates the revealed scriptures. Very wonderful. Also, he is above all the regulations of revealed scriptures. He doesn't have to follow the mandates of scriptures, but he still doesn't do anything that violates the revealed scriptures. He still follows. Why? To set an example. Of course, his following of scriptures or his activities are very difficult for us to understand. That's why we make mistake. For example, in the scriptures, it is mentioned that one should not have relationship with others' wives. But Krishna in Vrindavan, he had so many gopis that he danced with in Ras Leela. And apparently they were the wives of other gopas. So how to resolve that? So we have to understand his activities from proper acharyas and from the scriptures, what is mentioned in the scriptures. Because people don't read scriptures and they have no understanding of scriptures. So that's why they raise fingers at the activities of Krishna or other incarnations, as a matter of fact. Just to tell you the pastime, if you remember when Lord Brahma, he stole the cowherd boys and calves when Krishna was taking them for herding. And Brahma told them because he wanted to understand who this little boy Krishna is. Because people say, and everybody says, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he was acting just like a little cowherd boy. He wasn't acting like a Supreme God himself. So Brahmaji got confused, bewildered, and he stole the cowherd boys and the calves, and he kept them in a cave, locked them up. But when he came back to the spot from where he had stolen, Krishna had expanded himself in that many cowherd boys and that many calves. And Brahmaji got bewildered. What is this? And then he went back to the cave, and the cowherd boys were still there, calves were still there. And he came back, and Krishna had expanded himself as many cowherd boys and calves were there. So then he understood he made a mistake by trying to figure out who Krishna is. And wonderful prayers are there in Srimad Bhagavatam. But the period between him locking the cowherd boys and calves and coming back to see, it took 1 year because he went back to Brahmaloka, and then just 1 second in Brahmaloka is compared to 1 year here. So he came back. It was 1 year had passed. And Krishna understood this Brahmaji's tricks. So he expanded himself as cowherd boys and the calves. So what was the reason for him to do this also? Because in a single pastime, he performs many activities. So that 1 year, Krishna remained as cowherd boys, and he went to all the different houses where all those cowherd boys were living with the parents. So he spent 1 year with those parents. And as calves also, he spent 1 year with the cows, mother cows. Because all these parents, cowherd men and cowherd ladies, and the calves, they always wanted to have Krishna as their son. So Krishna fulfilled their desire. For 1 year, he stayed with them, but in the form of their own kids. And it is said that they even could not figure out how come we are loving our kids much more than we used to love them before. The cows used to feed them so much milk, and the cows were thinking, why I'm feeding so much milk to my calves, but previously I didn't used to. But they were very happy doing all these services. So as we know, like we went to Barsana to get these girls' marriages performed, to help actually, not to get, but just to help. So in villages, still the tradition is they get the girls and boys married at a very young age. Of course, these girls were little older than the ages the girls or boys get married at. So Krishna or Krishna's Yogmaya, he made the cowherd men perform the marriages of these boys to the girls, the gopis from the village in that 1 year. So technically it was Krishna only who had married all these gopis in the form of in the form of these cowherd boys. But technically it was Krishna only who had married. And after 1 year, this pastime was over, and Brahmaji came and he begged for forgiveness from Krishna. Krishna forgave him, and Brahmaji brought back all the original cowherd boys and the calves back. And the boys and the calves went to their respective parents or mothers. And all these boys, because it was Krishna's Yogmaya acting, they thought they had married these girls. But it was actually Krishna who had married them. So when Krishna performed Ras Leela later on, basically he called his wives to come for Ras Leela. So he did not commit any illegal activity, illicit activity. He had Ras Leela with his wives. Of course, the gopis also, they thought they were married to the cowherd boys because Krishna wanted to. There is a ras called Parakiya Bhav. He wanted to enjoy that Parakiya Bhav. One is Swakiya Bhav, one is Parakiya Bhav. Swakiya Bhav is having relationship with your own lawfully wedded wife. And Parkiya Bhav, again, we have to understand it is Bhav, it's not the activity. Parkiya Bhav is having a relationship with somebody else's wife. So Parkiya Bhav was there, Parkiya activity was not there. So bhav is the emotion or sentiment, and that makes the union or the activity, the union, more sweet and more relishable. Of course, Bhagavad Gita is not all about that. I'm just trying to give you a hint of what Krishna did. What Krishna does is never, never, never against the scriptures. And there are many scriptures. It's not just Niti Shastra, Dharma Shastra. Then there are above scriptures also, because we have to understand Krishna. Then we have to have the knowledge of all the scriptures. Then we can really understand Krishna. Since we cannot have the knowledge, at least we should try to understand activities of Krishna through a bona fide spiritual master. Then we can have some idea of activities of Krishna. And moreover, Krishna is bent at three places. Very difficult to understand his activities. His activities are also bent. So that's why we have to surrender and we have to approach a guru who can teach us. But that's why Prabhupada is saying he does not do anything that violates the revealed scriptures. Our understanding could be wrong, but he doesn't do anything wrong. And then Krishna further says, Yadi hyam na varteyam jatu karmani yatantrita mam vartamanu vartante manusya partha sarvasha. For if I ever failed to engage in carefully performing prescribed duties, Parth, certainly all men would follow my path, because he is the supreme leader. In order to keep the balance of social tranquility for progress in spiritual life, there are traditional family usages meant for every civilized man. Although such rules and regulations are for the conditioned souls and not Lord Krishna, because he descended to establish the principles of religion, he followed the prescribed rules. Otherwise, common men would follow in his footsteps because he is the greatest authority. From the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is understood that Lord Krishna was performing all the religious duties at home and out of home as required of a householder. So this line that Prabhupada is writing, so when Krishna was in Dwarka, so he was performing all the religious duties, even though he was living with 16,108 queens, and everybody was a different palace at the same time, and Krishna would do all the religious activities in all the palaces with all the queens at the same time. And he would not like getting up early in the morning, performing yagya, doing the charity, worshipping Brahmins as a householder. He was doing all that, just to set an example. The last text for today. Utsideyure me loka na kuryam karma chedaham sankarasya cha kartasyam uphanyam imah prajaha. If I did not perform prescribed duties, all these worlds would be put to ruination. I would be the cause of creating unwanted population, and I would thereby destroy the peace of all living beings. Arjun was, in chapter 1, he said if he fights this war and if he kills so many people, he would be responsible for creating this Varna Sankar, unwanted population. But Krishna says, if I don't perform my duties, and people would follow me, that will be the cause of unwanted population, not if I perform my duty. Varna Sankar is unwanted population that disturbs the peace of the general society. In order to check this social disturbance, there are prescribed rules and regulations by which the population can automatically become peaceful and organized for spiritual progress in life. When Lord Krishna descends, naturally he deals with such rules and regulations in order to maintain the prestige and necessity of such important performances. The Lord is the father of all living entities, and if the living entities are misguided, indirectly the responsibility goes to the Lord. Therefore, whenever there is general disregard of regulative principles, the Lord himself descends and corrects the society. This is what he says in later fourth chapter. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanirvavati bharata. Whenever there is a decline of religion, and dharma means the prescribed duties, I descend to correct the situation, to set it right. We should, however, note carefully that although we have to follow in the footsteps of the Lord, we still have to remember that we cannot imitate him. Following and imitating are not on the same level. We cannot imitate the Lord by lifting Govardhan Hill as the Lord did in his childhood. So this is a wonderful line Prabhupada is writing, that we cannot imitate him. Although he performs his duties properly, we have to follow. Just like not knowing properly that Lord did Ras Leela, or he married 16,108 queens in Dwarka, people tend to get to that point. Oh, if the Lord can perform Ras Leela with others' wives, I can also do that. But Ras Leela is such a topmost spiritual activity, the purest spiritual activity. That's why it is kept. Ras Leela, the pastimes are kept in the 10th canto and also only in this 5 chapters, because it's so pure. To understand those chapters, one has to go through all the 9 cantos and then the 28th chapters of 10th canto, and then the 29th chapter will start, where Krishna's dealings with gopis are there. So one has to be very pure to understand those Ras Leela or Krishna's activities with the gopis. We cannot just imitate Krishna. We should follow. We should always consider the position of the Ishvaras, or those who can actually control the movements of the sun and moon, as superior. Without such power, one cannot imitate the Ishvaras, who are super powerful. Like many times people try to imitate Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva smokes ganja, and we can also smoke ganja. Shivratri time we see people are doing that. But this is not how we follow Lord Shiva. Like Prabhupada is giving that example. Lord Shiva drank poison to the extent of swallowing an ocean. But if any common man tries to drink even a fragment of such poison, he will be killed. There are many pseudo-devotees of Lord Shiva who want to indulge in smoking ganja and similar intoxicating drugs, forgetting that by so imitating the acts of Lord Shiva, they are calling death very near. Similarly, there are some pseudo-devotees of Lord Krishna who prefer to imitate the Lord in his Ras Leela or dance of love, forgetting the inability to lift Govardhan Hill. So Krishna also lifted Govardhan Hill, and for 7 days, he kept Govardhan Hill on the tip of his pinky finger of the left hand. Can we do anything like that? No way. It is best, therefore, not to try to imitate the powerful, but simply follow their instructions. Nor should one try to occupy the post without qualification. So we should stop here and see anybody has any question or comment. So we have to perform our duties, and Krishna also performs his duties. But at the same time, we cannot imitate the activities of Krishna, who is the supremely powerful, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Yes, Archana Mataji, Archana Mataji, you have a question?
Yes, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mata.
प्रभु जी, ये जो संस्करण का बताते हैं ना, that can please एक बार explain कर देंगे? That word comes संस्करण.
Sanskaran or sanskar?
Meaning संस्करण, where they say that the population will be.
Oh, Shankar, one Shankar.
Sorry. Shankaran, has.
Well,
What exactly?
When Arjun was declining to fight, so he says, if I kill all these warriors and men here, their wives will be unprotected at home. And
Okay.
they will be taken advantage of by unscrupulous men. Means
Oh,
they'll have these affairs. And
okay.
then the kids will be there, and that is unwanted progeny of Varna Shankar. Means they're
Okay.
not born out of proper wedlock. And if
Okay.
they are not born like that, they will not be properly guided by the elders of the society. They will not follow any rules of the scriptures, and
Mm-hmm.
that will really create havoc or chaos in the society. So that is
Oh,
Varna Shankar.
okay.
In
Okay.
fact,
Thank
that is very much prevalent today in the society.
you. Yes.
Very much going on.
Mhm.
Having children out of wedlock or before marriage, they're having children. So it's a big problem. And the children, even if they're born in wedlock, they're not being guided properly according to Vedas. So it's also Varna Shankar.
Thank you,
And
Prabhu.
you're welcome. Hare Krishna,
Nowadays,
Hare Krishna, Subhu Prabhu, welcome.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
So, Hare Krishna, would you like to comment on
No,
this?
actually, I joined very late.
Oh,
I totally forgot it.
oh. Well, you know everything about Bhagavad Gita, so you don't need to join. But you should join just to set an example and to give us your guidance.
No. I didn't know that we had a class today. I just checked it only now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know weekends sometimes it happens, and sometimes people take it easy.
Prabhuji, today we had a very good time. About 14 people we went to Vedic Expo and we had a nice outing actually.
And out of
Subramanian Prabhu and his mother also.
okay, so out of 14, only 3 showed up in the class.
Yeah, actually three of them joined and I am the fourth one and Subhu Prabhu is the fifth one. And Subhu Prabhu's mother was there,
Oh, yeah.
Raja Prabhu and his wife there, and then the rest were kids.
Oh, okay. That's great. So you had, you watched the show, everything was great over there?
Yes.
Yeah, it was great.
Okay, great.
Everybody liked it.
Glad you had good time.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for arranging everything behind us.
Oh, well.
And they took very nice care of all of us.
Yeah, that's nice.
Sunil Prabhu and others.
That's nice. Great. I'm glad. So in fact, you can take the whole class also there sometime.
Yeah, we were thinking like that, but then everybody doesn't come together. They don't want to come all at the same time. Maybe we have to organize it for like batches. 10, 15 people batches.
Yeah, once we can do that, that'll be great. Chalo, any other question or comment? Or should we stop here?
So what time is it, Prabhu, there? 7 o'clock in the morning?
It's right now it's 7:23 a.m.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. You're taking a lot of pains for us. And
Oh, no,
trying to
it's
keep...
not pain. This way I also get to read Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam every day.
Morning time is very crucial for you also.
Well, it's okay. I get up early anyway, so it's okay.
Prabhuji, just a basic question. What is the difference between Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam?
Bhagavad Gita is instructions by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, and Bhagavatam is about Lord Krishna and his pastimes, his different incarnations, his devotees.
So Bhagavad Gita as it is, which we have, that is Bhagavad Gita, that is not Bhagavatam, right?
No. Bhagavatam is a literature which contains 18, in ISKCON, it is an 18 volume of books or 12 cantos. And it has 18,000 shlokas. Bhagavad Gita is 700 shlokas. Bhagavatam classes are going on Monday through Friday, every day, 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. And Bhagavad Gita we try to study on weekends. And if you want, Radha Prabhu has a set of Bhagavatam with him lying that is available for anybody to take. You can contact him and take it.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you, Anta. Hare Krishna. So I guess we can stop here.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you all very much. Have a wonderful day. Hare Krishna.